what we agreed on about 2 weeks ago, those of us who did the other future work. It's what, sorry?
This building is not going to be there.
Yeah, we know.
There'll be a cavern underneath the university, which is the data centre, which is actually supplying all the
You'll have a Google farm here, and then a few people servicing it.
More support staff less.
Yeah.
The only pity actually in this model of MOOCs and things that when you are going to graduate, you never know. You don't know your partners.
You
don't have a team of students together, living together, and
you have no
having
cohorts.
fun and things. And
so
that's the pity.
No more student cohorts.
The social aspects of university
yeah.
education will only be for the privileged, I think.
Will there be an artificial?
Will be gone.
Will there be this artificial thing we call a graduation? Will it be life-learn things?
It will become even more razzmatazz. It will have fireworks,
Unless in this model you oblige people that are local and together, like you said.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to think how to phrase this for people who haven't been at this conversation. Social aspects will only be for privileged students. The rest will have studied.
Will have utilitarian pressure to acquire qualifications for work. Full stop.
Only the course for social sciences.
Or could it be because most people will be learning on an individual basis?
Yeah.
And largely online.
This is some kind of
sure.
problem actually.
Yeah, I'm sure
people want to learn how to live.
No, the social interaction thing would be a problem.
I suppose the optimist would hope that would drive people to form their own communities out of it.
Yeah,
which is what MOOC's already doing.
Yeah,
focus much more around topic, the individualism. We're all interested in 20th century history. That's where we'll meet.
No, there'll be self-motivation to bring communities of knowledge together, but it won't be formally.
It wouldn't be a facility the university kind of provides anymore.
And when you physically meet people at one of these meetups, you'll know them quite intimately already from their online presence.
Yes, a bit like the kind of open university setup.
Yeah,
exactly. Wow. Yeah.
This is going to be just for adult education.
We're talking about universities.
We need to be clear about
that. Because for children, it's something different.
I mean, schools have a major socialising sort of project, aren't they, in any society? So I think that kind of collective education will continue.
Yeah.
And we're talking about university level.
Yeah.
But I think that's true for university level in England too. It's very much where the young people leave their home for the first time, and the parents are expecting the people to live about university age for 3 years to learn to live independently, and that's very much middle class life in this country. And I think it'd be difficult to rip that out in such a short time.
The thing that will rip it up is the cost.
But also,
living away from home.
But also, there's a cost to having all these teachers that are not teaching anymore, and all these students that don't. I mean, what is society? Where is money made? It has to go around, doesn't it? If you rip all these institutions out,
you won't rip them up. But they'll become localised colleges serving a local community, so people can live at home and study at these colleges.
So what about the whole infrastructure that at the moment you go through school, everything's set up, UCAS and everything, so that you will apply at age 17, 18, you will go to university, that's what's expected. I think that may disappear, maybe not by 2025, but maybe it won't be a question of being at school being funneled all the way through to 18 and you have to decide are you going to go to university, because I think it won't be. I think more people will go to work and they'll be doing their learning part-time, and that whole model of what happens when you're 18, I suspect will be gone.
Education seems to be like a sort of railroad tracks at the moment. If you stay on the rails, if you continue go through O-levels, A-levels, university, it's a very easy track, relatively easy track. If you fall off the rails for any reason, it's very, very, very hard to get back onto the rails.
But this goes back again to my kind of education profile idea, that would be, you'd be aware of the impact on your professional identity of those choices when you were 16, 17, 18.
I mean, this dystopian desert, learners forage for resources, ends with the national conversation is now addressing the so-called lost decade 2015 to 2025, and I actually think that will come true.
Well, I think we've already got a lost generation of people, of youth out of work, haven't we? We've got 55% youth unemployment, or whatever the figure is, and it's just a disgrace, isn't it? It's like, what are we doing?
My children say clearly that the older sister is 20, she went to university. They say, we will not be able to go to university, Mum, because we will not be able to afford it. And that's what all their parents are saying too. So they're saying, why should we study or attempt to study, because university will not be for us anyway, and the only carrot that has been used in schools is university.
What do they plan to do then? Do they have other plans, or just nothing? They just don't know what's going on?
They don't know, but they say that university is not an option, so it's really hard to motivate them to stay motivated in school, because...
You can look in other countries, like for instance my wife's Greek, so we actually spent a lot of time in Greece, and you can see there that's like MSc, PhDs, 10 a penny, can't get a job.
Yeah, Athens is full of ex-PhD students who've got no jobs.
Exactly.
This is where revolutions come from.
What about, I think there is a country issue in the Middle East. The PhD is a ticket to a very high job and a lot of money, which is why students come over here and are very focused on getting that PhD because it's a ticket. In South Korea and Japan, I believe the pressure for the students to achieve academically is massive and has grown, isn't it, from what I hear on the news. So there's different cultures.
But this is because, in Southeast Asia, they're largely in countries whose economies are expanding greatly, and there's always new jobs appearing where they can go. I mean, where you have, production outrunning demand, as we have in the Depression in the West, the model doesn't seem to be appropriate anymore.
But do we go back to learning for the joy and the enjoyment of learning, rather than trying to get a job that doesn't exist? Is there a point to education?
Well, there is, but people have to eat.
Financial gain.
But you can do that within a job, can't you? You can still be learning within a job. You don't have to. It's not necessary to have it all in one block. The joy of learning. I do things because I enjoy learning about new stuff, and you just. It's like the next thing, it may be useful to you, it may not be useful to you, but at least you've been exposed to it.
So we're back really to the very first discussion, which was about identity and how clear it is that we are going to be already much more individualised, and kind of we know what we want. And the idea before of letting kids direct their own learning seemed anathema, didn't it? But it's making more and more sense that kids and adults should direct their own learning and follow what they're interested in. And this is picking up on that kind of vibe. Really.
But there's also knowing what you want, and really needing what you need is different to what you want.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what you need to make a way in the world is different to what you want to do. As like, I want to study something.
So you need to become responsible from an early age. Take responsibility for your own learning.
But you also need diagnostic and mentoring presences, and that's where.
And that's what you'll see when I send this video.
That's where the universities will come from.
That's what these guys do. Yeah.
But isn't university doesn't counterpoint to like politics and the economy? Independent universities as a seat of thinking and perhaps.
Well, I think that the economies will come to realise that they need that free thinking, because if you. Will Hutton talks about every economy needing a world-beating invention that comes up, and these come out of things like free-thinking universities, and if you don't have those things, the Scottish Enlightenment drove innovations in medicine and so on, and in the steam engine and all the rest of it. If you don't have that ecology, you don't get these advances. And actually the world economy is driven by these seminal advances that happen once a decade and come out of countries where that infrastructure or that ecology is properly established. And if you don't have that, you will fall lower and lower behind in your standard of living and everything else.
The steam engine was invented by a blacksmith, so it's...
Well, the original one was,
yes.
But what's innovation on it is what made it viable. Yeah, made it viable for the Industrial Revolution. So I think if we lose that, and Britain has a great educational ecology, we will rapidly degrade in terms of the economy as well, and they're tied together. And I don't think governments are quite up with that, how that works. because you can't put it in boxes the way they like to.
Measurable.
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating.